Oh, we're a chatty crowd this evening. On behalf of the board, I would like to welcome everyone this evening and call the meeting of the Linn-Mar Community School District Board of Directors meeting to order at 5:00 p.m. John, will you please determine a quorum?
Director Buchholz.
Here.
Director Foss.
Here.
Director Langston.
Here.
Director Mansour.
Here.
Director Maury.
Here.
Director Thomas.
Here.
President Lau Lancaster.
Here. Thank you very much. To keep the meeting flowing tonight, I will read the number and the title of each motion item that we have, and then ask for someone to either present the motion or a report. So just take it slowly, and we'll go together at the same speed. Item 200, our adoption of an agenda. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Laura, second by Barry. Is there any discussion? If there's not any discussion, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor of the adoption of our agenda, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? And the motion has carried. Item number 300, our special board recognition.
Yes, thank you, Director Lau Lancaster. I'm excited to, first of all, show a great picture of the team up here. This is a picture from the Iowa Association of School Boards, and tonight I'm addressing the awards that were given that day. So during our convention, IASB offers 3 types of board awards, and this year our fabulous board and district received not only the individual achievement awards, but also the team awards. So individual achievement awards go to board members who have had a minimum of 15 hours participating in IASB-led learning activities. A team is awarded an achievement award and given a plaque, and it's presented to a board when the majority of the board members have earned that individual achievement. And also just want to share that I also received the Award of Honor as a superintendent or AEA administrator or college president who is earning, along with their board, 15 hours, and at least 2 board members received that individual achievement award. So awards all around. We had a great time taking this picture, and it represents just a ton of hard work. I'm proud of our team for, each, and this does not include Melissa. Melissa Walker also was part of that, had 15 or more hours of learning together last year. So congrats to the board. Everybody received a certificate that looked similar to this. So congrats, everyone.
Thank you very much. Hopefully everybody enjoys that time of learning, and we have taken a great advantage of those things that are offered to us to grow and to continue to be educated. Anybody have any comments? Just congratulations also to Amy for encouraging us constantly to get that done. We're going to move on then to item number 300, our audience communication. I do not believe we have anyone who has signed in. So we will now move on to our next item. We will move on to our item number 500, our informational reports.
Sorry, didn't have my mic on. Good evening, everyone. We're excited tonight to bring back to the board an update with where we're at with our indoor activity center and associated renovations. We've had a steering committee together since the end of September working on fine-tuning the drafts of what the community and the board would have seen last spring. So that work has been moving right along, but we wanted to take a pause and update our larger stakeholder committee, which we invite regularly around 40 to 45 individuals. I would say attendance usually is about 20 to 25 of those individuals will consistently come. We shared this report with them a week ago tonight and last Monday evening, and tonight we're sharing similar report to the board. We did have a few questions that came out that we thought were good to put some additional slides in the slide deck based on some of the questions that we heard from the stakeholder committee. So there are a few additional slides that we've put in the slide deck since last Monday. So next slide, Matt, if you wouldn't mind. We'll talk a little bit just historically where we've been with this project, what our engagement has looked like, including what those plans look like, where the plans are currently. They're still not final. We continue to work through that, but we wanted to give you an update. Talk a little bit about what that, remind people what that budget was like, and talk about next steps. So I'll turn it over to John next. And I didn't introduce, I'm so sorry, I didn't introduce
That's
our
all right.
folks.
I'm
I'll let you
Vicki
guys-
Highland. I'm with OPN, and I'm our K-12 practice leader.
And my name is Matthew Stewart, and I am the project manager also from OPN.
And John doesn't get an introduction because he knows everybody and everybody knows him. So we wanted to start a little bit talk about the history of this project. And it's had a long history, honestly, with the district. Back in 2016, when we started facilities planning, it was one of the things that came to light as saying that this is a want or a need for the district. And then in 2018, we passed that bond and we delivered the 2 intermediate schools in 2020. And then it was time to reconvene the facilities committee. Several of you were part of that whole process. And we started to talk about the next iteration of projects, and it was kind of a domino effect. And we had the parking on the north side of the high school site, we had the tennis courts, we had the ACE, we had this building. So we've done several things to get ready. We've got the performance venue almost ready to open. And so now this is a little bit about the timeline, starting from then, what's happened with it, indoor activities. So back in 2024, we convened a stakeholder group, and we spent some time with them visioning what we would like to see on indoor activities, what kind of components we would like to have as part of that project. And then the summer of 24, we did some benchmarking trips. And then we issued a set for an early SD package at the board's request to get an idea of what a project like this would cost. So kind of set our benchmark right there for a budget. So that was September a year ago. We came to the board this past January, and we gave you an update, and you guys all said, let's dream big. Let's make sure that we have everything in here that everybody wants. And you said, let's re-engage with the community and ensure that we are asking all the questions and getting all the stones overturned. So last spring, we held several community input sessions, and we offered tours of the high school area of some of the existing spaces. We came back with more ideas, and it was based on that SD package that we had presented to the board in January. Following that, this past summer, we did a lot of an extensive building documentation coming in. You have a high school that has had lots of iterations of additions and modifications and renovations, and you're laughing because you were here when what things used to be like when you went to school. So we have a lot of elevation changes, a lot of things that really have to be really a lot of detail in the renovation. Matthew and his team spent a lot of hours here. We did a lot of videoing, we did a lot of scanning, and then we are here today to give you kind of an update where we are. The rest of that timeline, John will cover a little bit later in what's the next steps are. So early on, this is an image of that stakeholder group we did with our initial tours back in February, March of 24. And the things that they were telling us is we wanted to make sure that we had multi-use facilities. We wanted to look at locker rooms. What did they look like? Were they team rooms? We talked about weight rooms and making sure it was adequate for the athletes and the PE users and the community that use that space. Location, location, location. Early on in 2016 and 18, we talked about several ideas for where this facility could be located. It could be a separate freestanding facility, but it was really determined that they really felt strongly about it being attached to the high school. Then in the summer, go ahead, John, thanks. And then that summer, we went to visit, we went in person to visit Mason City High School, Clear Lake Wellness Center, Wartburg Waverly Sports and Wellness Center, and the Cedar Valley Sportsplex. Great informative tours. Several of you went along with that tours. We learned a lot. We also did some virtual comparisons with Waukee Northwest and Indianola. So we learned a lot from that too in terms of how to form what we would like to see in this facility. And then again, what I talked about was this past spring, after you guys asked us to make sure that we were asking for enough and we had all the pieces and parts that the community and the staff and the students were looking for, we had multiple events where John conducted sessions, and then we offered tours and we got input from the community.
There we go. All right, so from there, that really took us to the schematic design. So on this first page here, we're going to look at some of the initial concepts. So back in 23, roughly, end of 23, early 24, the picture there in the bottom left corner, that was kind of what a lot of us have referred to as the box on a page. Really no more details to that. It was going to be box that was to the north of the existing gym, between that and the hill and the cell tower and whatnot there, and then just a connecting link. So with that, there was going to be, some sort of track, not a 200-meter track, walking lanes, running lanes around the outside, with 3 courts on there, and then the addition of some restrooms. And that was really the extent of the project at that point in time. Before we decided, or the board had said, hey, is this really everything that's needed? And I think there was input from other staff members and community members on that as well, saying, does this really fit the need that we're asking for? So as we look at the other images there, those are some more renditions after that on, what are the other spaces? Our weight room is too small. Girls wrestling has been sanctioned. We only have a wrestling room with 3 mats in the entire district. Our locker rooms haven't been touched in X amount of years. So as we were trying to fit those puzzle pieces together on that page and on the site with maintaining the fire lane that runs around that side, those are some of the initial concepts as we started looking at that. Ultimately, a year ago, this is what we landed on as our schematic design. So the board elected to get to that point of schematic design, so we had a lot better understanding of financially what the cost would be to see how that fits into our larger financial capital improvement picture. So I'll run through this super quick, but you can see the wrestling room expansion towards the top there, area A. We were at 3 mats, extending to 7 mats. That area there is also the storm shelter that is required now by code. If you remember in the performance venue, there's 2 storm shelters there that would hold the population of any event happening down in that area. And then the city said, if you do this next addition, you then need to have a storm shelter that would hold the rest of the population of the building. So code driven there to be able to add that, but also being useful space. So that's kind of the nice part of these storm shelters, is it's not just an empty hole, but it's an area that can be used throughout the day. So a wrestling room is awesome because it's generally the mat's on the floor and it's open space that in the event that we need it, you can shuffle the people in there and they're in a safe location. To the left of that is the existing locker room areas, and those would all be renovated to more locker rooms than they have now. That was one big thing that we heard from coaches and the athletic directors was on a game night, we're shuffling people up to classrooms or to the locker rooms down by the auxiliary gym. We just don't have enough space for our competing teams, visiting teams, and our PE classes to be able to have enough locker rooms to place all those teams on any given night. The weight room, that is just to the south of the existing gym, or below the gym on the page there, in the red. So that has expanded based on the use. I think there was a lot of conversation early about the hours that weight room's open to get all of the student athletes and just students cycled through there, whether it's for sports or PE. So that was expanded there. What else? Then the main addition, I guess. You can see that has a 200-meter track with 3 basketball courts in it. So that's really where we left it for the pricing at that point in time. Since then, the board said, yep, pricing looks fine, it fits into our plan, let's move forward, got OPN under contract to take us through the end of construction. So really since that point, here's how this has evolved. And I'll kind of go in the same order. So the light blue at the top of the page, we've expanded there from what was 7 to 8 wrestling mats. As we talked about growth of the sport, equity between the girls teams and the boys teams, and really just some of the other changes, that allowed us to have 4 mats in both wrestling rooms, however that shakes out for the boys and the girls. They were really comfortable with that would be a good number, not just for now, but long-term space there. Also within that storm shelter, there is a couple locker rooms, a couple official locker rooms / coaches locker rooms in there. That's all part of that storm shelter. The nice part about that is the multi-use is that we have to have fresh water and restroom access within that storm shelter, so that serves a dual purpose there as well. To the left of that in the pink would be the new trainers area. That shifted a little bit, but not a whole lot from where it was at the SD phase. They really were asking if that could be fairly close to locker rooms and then kind of as central as it could be because of the amount of student athletes that go in and out of there on any given day. To the left of that, kind of in the The red, I guess I'll say, locker rooms, really footprint-wise on those, that has stayed the same, but we have made some tweaks based on need. Our athletic directors have been awesome through this in many different areas of this. This one specifically was important as they sat down and tried to plan, okay, if we have a home boys-girls doubleheader basketball game and we have X amount of students in PE, what does that look like that we will need to be able to serve our PE kids, our 2 basketball teams, and the visiting teams that are coming? Where can we place all of these? So they really tried to go through all of those different possibilities on any given night to say, here's what we need for space so that we can accommodate everybody. So those tweaked a little bit. Specifically, one of the things came up, and there's many of these scenarios, but you know, our wrestling team has 60 kids, so 1 locker room isn't enough. How can we have supervision in an area that's large enough? Well, can we make one of these larger, knowing that that's going to happen? So a lot of those conversations were really flushed out to get to a spot that where we needed to be so that it served our students and our coaches and our staff as best as possible. Down in the orange, that's the weight room. That has expanded a little bit there from what it was in the SD phase. Dan and Chris, our athletic directors, have really done a very nice job programming that space as far as what equipment needs to be in there, what's the adjacencies so that our students have a safe weight room facility, that they're not going to be running into each other or have weights flying around. So after going through what that was, that is expanded a little bit to accommodate what that looks like, and there's more on that weight room here in the next couple pages. Let's see. One area that we're still working through a little bit is you'll see in the light brown just above the orange, and then to the green kind of just to the left and below the orange. That's the restroom and the activities offices. We're still working through the adjacencies of that and where those should be located for good flow in and out of the 2 venues, locations of our administrators for supervision, where restrooms should work as you're flowing in and out of the gym and out of the field house itself. So this isn't final. As you can see at the top, continues to develop. That's one area that we're really still working through options so that we land in a spot that we feel is best. To the left of the field house, there's still the bleachers up top. Down below, we have 4 locker rooms down there. 2 of those are going to be generally used for PE, but could be used at night for other teams as well. Same thing in that the lockers in there are different than the ones that are for the teams for sizes, so we have enough for all of the students that are in PE. And then on the photo there on the right, you can see that there is the 200-meter track, 3 wood basketball courts still, and then we're going to add lines for some additional spaces, whether it's for basketball or pickleball or tennis, over top of the track area on the multi-use flooring. That kind of came up through conversation too, is, you know, what are we missing here multi-use wise that we can add at a fairly low cost to be able to do that. So just having as many opportunities to use this space in as many different ways as possible. Just above that, there's another little orange area there. That's kind of the cardio room, fitness room, aerobic room, kind of your stair climbers and your bikes and your treadmills. They felt that it was very, very important to try to have that right off of the field house itself. So as they're going through their workouts, they can be on machines, they can be doing speed training work just outside of that on the track space. So again, one of those things that kind of tweaked a little bit so that we could make the end users, or make the end of this as useful as possible. Oh, yes, thank you. One other area that we're still working through is we heard from our boosters at those community meetings and a few other times about the concessions. So this area isn't programmed yet. We've met with the boosters on that to try to get their feelings on what kind of makes sense. So we're still working through what that looks like. I think we're fairly confident that we're going to be able to expand that in some possibilities. So when we kind of get some more detailed drawings on a page, we'll meet with them again to see how they think that flows and the usability, and probably a couple more times as we get down into the finer details as far as cabinets and shelving and countertop space and those sorts of things. So that's yet to be incorporated, but we are working through that. Aux gym, thank you. So you can see on this right now, the aux gym, we've kind of taken that out of the programming. There's been just a lot of conversations on different things and talking with different coaches as far as how would that be used, what would you use it for. Originally that was programmed to be turf, and with that, talking to our soccer teams and our football teams, and it's like, guys, the turf would be nice, but a one gym floor turf doesn't do a lot for us as far as being able to use that other than the surface as turf. If we're going to be inside football, for example, we would rather be in the field house where we have as large of area possible and we put our sneakers on and we can still run plays in there versus on the turf. That would be a little bit more difficult. So I think there's a lot of questions for that area. So to try to spend our dollars most wisely, we didn't want to move that forward to spend money there and then have it set empty. So we felt the best path forward was to say, let's hit the pause button on this until we can really define exactly how that would be used and best used. So this shows a little bit better representation of the two different flooring types here. So obviously the brown in the middle is the 3 wood courts. We have 3 84-foot courts that are kind of running crosswise in there. And then you can kind of see the red outline. There's a 94-foot court that spans the 2 courts towards the top of the 2 top courts there. That was a little tweak that instead of having that centered, we shifted that so you could have somebody practicing on the 94-foot court, put the curtains down and still have somebody on the 84-foot court on the bottom. So kind of the history, I guess, for people that don't know the difference between the 84 and the 94. So typically in high school, you play on an 84-foot court until you get to the state tournament, and then you play on a 94-foot court. So you're seeing more and more high schools go to the 94-foot court just to have that ability. I think last year when the boys made state, they rented time down at Carver so that they could practice and play on a 94-foot court because it is a little bit different than an 84-foot court. So being able to have that ability in-house is nice for our student athletes in that sport. You also see there on the resilient floors, the red and black area, some of the options that we have, whether it's pickleball or tennis or such in those areas for different sports. Still really defining exactly what that looks like, but the options are there to be able to serve some more students that way. On the very bottom of that page, running across it would be our long jump and our long jump pit. So that long jump pit would be in the bottom left corner. We're trying to put that in a space where there is sand in that pit so that it kind of stays out of the way and confined as much as possible. So this is the weight room, kind of with the equipment in there. The rack stations through there, dumbbell areas, so on and so forth. Dan would be able to give you a lot more detail on this, but they've worked really, really hard to get the adjacencies of this right. The green area at the top is an area of turf for their speed training and medicine balls and sleds and X, Y, and Z that goes into those workouts that they have designed for the student athletes. So that's really, I would say, a lot of the change is adding that turfed area in this weight room. So a little bit of site context on here. I think this was a slide that we added based on questions we had last time, just to kind of show what this looks like on the existing building and the adjacencies to other things, and then to talk about parking a little bit as well. So you can kind of see where the existing entrance is there on the photo on the left, or the aerial on the left, and where the new entrance is. So we're really moving that further away from the gym, and then it shows how much parking this is going to take up. So Vicki alluded to this a little bit earlier, that there was a sequence, a domino effect of projects. So added parking to the north of the existing, to the west of the stadium, and that was partly so we could take away some of the parking that was over there by the performance venue. But then planning long-term, knowing that no matter where this landed, we would take up parking lot space with it. So you can see that north lot added 182 spots. We lost 24 with the performance venue. And then on the field house addition, we are planning on other parking that would take up the old tennis courts to the east of the AEC, and then a couple rows to the south of that existing AEC parking lot. And you can see that up on the photo on the right. Again, those are still being worked through, but that's where we're at right now. So we'd lose 11 total there. So overall, we would net 147 more spots than what we had prior to any of this work happening. If we say, can we add any more? Can we squeak out any more? Due to the elevation changes to the south of the AEC parking lot, we could add another row in there, but we would have to put a retaining wall there along 29th, kind of the sidewalk on 29th in order to get that to work out. So there's a little bit of an option to add that there, depending on what we want to do to move forward.
All right, and then just to remind everybody from a three-dimensional aspect, these are images that were carried over from the schematic design that we had before. Most of our focus to date in the last several months has been on interior, reprogramming, realigning the needs that are currently identified with the spaces, making sure we have those spaces correct, and working to stay within the footprint so as to try to make sure that we are doing our best to maintain the overall cost. These images still represent very closely really our current plan for what the exterior looks like, with revisiting of this to come certainly in the next couple of months for aesthetics, color, and some materiality as well. This is a view from the east, looking right in the center is the existing gymnasium. To the right is the storm shelter addition that will house the wrestling mats, and sloping to the north there. And then to the south really is the small area that is the weight room, and then the large field house with the red stripes moving on. Just the forward button, I got you. Okay. This is a view from the south of the field house with the existing building in the background. The cars that are currently in the foreground are the part of the new addition on top of where the tennis courts are. There's a detention basin on the right that is represented, that is required to keep the water on site. This is the view from the south, view that you'll see from the street to the south. And then the entrance into the main space, again, that same language, pulling around the building from the south back to the north, and then tying in some larger open window areas, glazing areas, some sunshades, working on branding with the naming on the top of that, and then that main entrance with a series of doors that will be facing out towards the lot. Really visible kind of location, kind of pulled out, pushed out for a lot of visibility coming in from the lot to the south.
All right, so budget. So if you can remember, the board had talked about using both PEPAL and SAVE funds for this project. So on February 25, our initial SD package, total project cost, so this isn't construction, but this is total project, so it's your construction, it's your design fees, it's your FF&E, fees to the city, geotech, kind of X, Y, and Z, all in every dollar that would go towards this project from when it started until it's usable, was $53.4 million. So coming up here in a month, just over a month, OPN will send our latest package, our DD set, back to Stecker Hermsen, the third-party estimator, to see where are we at now. We'll continue to move on what our construction documents look like, and then when we get to roughly 75% of that, so pretty close to final documents, we'll do that same exercise to send it to the cost estimator. At both of those periods, so after design development and after the 75 construction document cost estimates come back, we have the ability then to do some value engineering to say we are over budget. So what do we need to scale back? Maybe that doesn't happen. I think in about every project I've been in is, we've dreamed big, and now we need to scale back. I would say it's easier to scale back than to come in and go, oh, this estimate came in at $40 million. Well, did we have everything included that we wanted? No, now let's add it. So I think it's a good exercise to do the way that we're doing this, and then do the value engineering to scale some things back if we need to. So I think the goal of this is after design development, see where we're at, do our value engineering, and then really try to be pretty close at that CD phase so we only have some small tweaks to do. In construction during this design, obviously when this is just a box on a page, it's really easy to dream big and make changes. The more detailed that your construction plans get, the harder it is to change things. So that's one option for to get our cost in line. The other two options is that we can put some alternates in to either take away some elements of the construction or to add to that. So if we think, man, this is really tight, let's, what's a good scenario here? Yeah, so maybe we do the parking lot to the south of the AEC. Maybe say, you know, we can probably net zero on this and be fine. Let's have that as an alternate. That would be a nice to have. So if costs come in too high, we could take that off, for example. Or within the field house, the courts on the multi-purpose surface, you know, maybe let's have the basketball hoops on that be an add alternate. Prices come in good, we can add those now. So a lot of things we could do there. The big thing with alternates is that they're very clear and concise so the contractor understands where that pricing is going. Is it in the base bid or is it in an alternate? So that's the second option to align our budget with the cost. And then the third is after bid is to do some value engineering with the contractor if we need to. So 3 different steps there to get our cost to match what our budget is, needs to be. All right, so going forward, we're here in December at the board meeting. We met with the stakeholder group last Monday, with the board here tonight. Next Monday, we have another steering committee meeting, and we'll have another one of those in January prior to the DD cost estimate going out. I'm going to skip over site bids for now. I'll come back to that. When that estimate comes back, we'll review that with the team, and then that'll be our next touch point after that is with our stakeholders and our board again, so we can say, here's where our estimate came in, here's the changes that we needed to make to hopefully get this back in line. That'll lead us right into the CD cost estimate, and then it'll be really the same steps. Review the estimate with our steering committee, our stakeholders, and our board. Here's the adjustments we need to make. Here's what we think they're valued on. So here's where we believe we're sitting when we issue the bid documents. We're going to issue those in late April. We'll receive bids in late May, and then those will come back to the board in June, and construction will start roughly end of June, early July on this. Now I'm going to back up to the site. So we are doing at least 2 bid packages for this because we want to get the site work done early because we need to add parking before we can take away parking. So we'll go through those. That's the site package, January, February, and then those will bid roughly at the end of February with hopefully construction starting on those sometime in March. We're in Iowa, weather dependent, we get snow early, so maybe we don't have it late, or maybe we have a super long winter. Time will tell, but with the hopes of that site construction being done May, June, prior to the construction on the base bid package, or on the main construction practice starting. So a few touch points in there. On this page, I guess I could probably go to here, and this would kind of explain the rest of that. So the rest of the design is roughly 6 months. We're anticipating 24 months for construction with an occupancy in the fall of 2028. So time flies. And with that, I can open it up to questions and comments.
Thank you for your report. At this time, do we have any questions that you would like to address or any comments you'd like to make?
All right. Hi, I'm Laura Thomas. I know Vicky, and I forget if we've had the chance to meet, but thank you so much for this comprehensive presentation. The first thing that I wanted to say was that I can very clearly see that you all are listening to feedback from not only us, but the stakeholders and the community. And there were like several instances where I'm like, oh, like I had that on my list to ask, but that's already been addressed. Or, oh, like that got pulled. Okay, like I was kind of concerned. So like big appreciation and kudos for making those adjustments. I have a few follow-up questions. And I'll start with the parking, because I know the high school, so we have the parking lot to the north, but during any sports event or a performing arts event that I've attended, there's almost always overflow parking at Indian Creek. And John, you can feel free to say that's outside scope, we can follow up on that later, but I'm wondering if there's opportunities to improve the parking situation at Indian Creek immediately, on the other side of the creek from the high school, because even when there's events at Indian Creek, there's overflow parking on the grass, and I know that lot is utilized for high school events as well. So I don't know if that was considered, so I'll start there.
I would say that would be a beautiful thing that will come up in our facility assessments as far as what parking lot is over there, so we can better understand, not only for high school events, how often does that get used, but then also the same for Indian Creek events on what does that look like, and are we short parking spots there and we need those to be added.
Okay, that's great, because I think that would be a huge value add, not only to this project, and that addition, but to the Indian Creek parking situation as well. I was really happy to hear your comments about the Booster Club, both that's in the works, they've been talked to, someone's going to meet with them again. Thank you for keeping them in mind. They work their butts off for the Linn-Mar events, and I want to make sure they feel like their space in this new amazing space is more than adequate. So thank you, to reiterate that. Glad to hear there's already some thinking about if it's too expensive, well, we can swap out this more expensive thing for this less expensive thing. So that way that's kind of already thought through, and we don't have to make those decisions in the moment and potentially accidentally be too detrimental to the project and the purpose. And then my last question has to do with accessibility. And this applies both in the parking. Sorry, I'm a city planner by training, so the parking is kind of endemic in my thought process. But when I was looking at the figures, and I know they're rough, I know they're not final, but if you could speak to the accessibility for the parking options in that lot, accessibility entrances into the building, and accessibility features that have been included in the design. And by accessibility, I mean what we've been talking about with other accessibility, ADA, but beyond ADA, how can we make this space feel just as welcoming for those folks as well?
Yeah, so I can speak to ADA a little bit. So obviously that's all driven by code. So there's a mathematical formula of here's the amount of parking stalls you have. So here's how many handicap spots you need, and then how many of those need to be van accessible. So that's the dashed lines that are next to them. And then as far as entrances, same thing. That's all driven by code. If we could have zoomed in on. This picture, oh yeah, the plan does too. You are correct, Vicki. Yeah, so a couple different spots. So that main entrance, those are stairs and a ramp, so that would be ADA accessible there. And then to get into the field house floor, that would be a 0-point entry where you'd be able to enter right into that. You can kind of see a little bit to below the green little box in there, stairwell and elevator, so that you can vertically transition from the main floor down to that. So again, all driven by code as far as ADA accommodations. We have to meet that or we don't get a building permit.
And I had no doubt that code is followed at every step of the way. But as I'm sure you guys can understand, sometimes code is like this bare minimum, and again, I want to make sure this space is as welcoming to anybody who needs that assistant as anyone else who uses this space. So,
Yeah, we hope to have that elevator, that vertical circulation, really proximate to the stairs too, so it is welcoming for anyone experiencing and coming into that area, so it's very obvious where you can go up and down. So like John said, we're still working through that configuration. This is still design development, so it continues to develop.
okay.
But overall, for the floor plan, having worked in and been through a number of the other parts of the building right now, all of the new areas are level with existing adjacent spaces. So the commons on the upper level as you come in is all on the same plane with the weight room, with the bleachers, and then down one level, everything on that lower level is also all on the same plane. There are multiple entrances as well, egress driven out of the field house, kind of the very large space. And then there are also accessible entrances and egress out of the storm shelter, the wrestling room to the north. So each of those, we do certainly have those elements, and we'll continue to work with your team to be able to make sure that we're understanding where people are going to be coming in and re-reviewing all of those accessibility aspects.
Yeah, and just to confirm, the locker room as well have okay.
And also, Laura, all those spaces like Matthew was saying in the back where the old locker rooms are, everything that's going up and down, that will all be now manageable from an AD perspective. And Jeff, I wish Jeff were here because he's so super excited about that whole pre-function area outside the weight room and the competition gym and the field house, now having that whole area be accessible and usable for a lot of different, whether it be cafeteria or pre-function gathering. So, and again, accessible.
And last, I'll just point out as well, all of the team rooms, locker rooms, also certainly have a strong focus on meeting the requirements for accessibility. Clearly, there's always a toilet. We have an accessible shower in each one of the separate 13 rooms, team rooms. Accessible lockers and benches are also required. We were just going over some of those needs today in some of our team reviews. So all of those spaces, there's a ramp that goes up by the training area, but then everything else has the door clearances, the plumbing requirements also certainly being met.
That's great to hear. And I just hope we continue to kind of keep that in mind on the advisory committee, that we don't accidentally cut something budget-wise that would affect that. So thank you.
Are there any further questions? Go ahead.
So thank you, Laura, because you eliminated a lot of my questions, but I had a couple more questions. We spoke about parking spots, and we had added 182 parking spots on the north lot. And then the net sum is going to be 147 parking spots when we're all said and done after the renovations and updates,
Yes, so
right?
that 147 is cumulative of adding the 182, losing 24
yep,
for the performance, and
exactly.
losing 11
Exactly.
here.
But I understand what Laura was saying about when the parents come in for different events, but on a day-to-day basis, do we know if all of those parking spots are taken? Like, at the high school level, are all of those spots spoken for, or?
I know Amy's had conversations with Jeff on this a little bit, so I'll let her take
had
that.
lots of conversations with the high school principal on this, and yes, I mean, it depends on the time of day, what it might look like in the lot out there, but they are all spoken for. He did this year expand the offering to not a lottery, hopefully I'm recalling this correctly, not a lottery for the sophomores, but that all sophomores upon their birth dates are eligible for a spot, so that was an addition this year as well.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that we are reducing those number of spots will not hinder our student parking situation at school for day to day. So, like, that was my biggest concern here.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? If I can't, the only question I had is just a reminder, because I saw it happen in another city, mutual opportunity. The track will be performance level. I mean, can we have indoor track events? Yes. And then, so you were mentioning different size courts. We will still have courts that are more than one court that could host a state size, not championship, but that's the size of the courts will be the same that they would play someplace else. At least we have one of those, two of those, three of those. Thank you. So that we are now able to be that site for people to come, because that's been one of our desires, is to be a site where things happen and that people will be coming to us because we do have now this indoor facility that does not exist. So thank you very much. Any other questions?
I just have a comment, because I was there last Monday, so just a change from last Monday to tonight that I really appreciate. Well, first, I appreciate that they wanted a turf surface, but when they looked at the Aux gym, they thought, well, it's not actually going to serve our purpose. So keeping that as a gym, the original plan, we were going to only really add 2 courts because we were going to lose that. And now we're adding like 4 or 5 extra court, like we're going to maintain. So that's huge. I think that I also appreciate one of the comments was in the original, what's going to go in the box. That originally was 1 wood court and 2 multi-surface courts. And so last Monday we were talking about, well, now it's 3 wood courts. So what happened to the multi-surface? So the fact that in a week you guys came back with a multi-surface solution, in addition to the 3 additional wood courts, and we're keeping the Aux gym for a while, I really think that that's going to improve accessibility in terms of just the number of teams that are clamoring for gym space. So I appreciate that that was heard within the last week and those changes were made.
Britt, can I come on that real quick? And just want to point out on that, we were also able to do that and not add square footage to the project, but just making existing square footage have more opportunity.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. I'm resisting the urge to ask all the questions about how all of the different lines will not confuse people, because that's out of my realm and I will look at it later and figure it out. But I trust that this is a doable thing and that somehow they just know which lines mean what when they're there. So.
Thank you. Is there any other comments? If not, we want to thank you for the time and energy that you've put into this and your professional, staying with us professionally and hearing us. And thank you, Laura, for reminding us that you are listening and adapting to our needs as we need to. So thank you very much. All right. We're going to move on to item number 502. This is our IASB board convention in Des Moines. We recently attended. We were blessed that all of us were there, the entire board, along with our superintendent and CFO. So this is an opportunity for you to give a very brief what you expected or what your takeaway would be. So if someone would like to speak to that, now would be your time. Having heard nothing, I'm just going to say one thing that's really amazing is that we are committed, and Amy's presentation this evening was an example of our partnership with IASB. So thank you again for everyone making that dedicated time.
I just wanted to add one thing for context, that all of us went. All of us attended sessions that we chose to help better our understanding and our proficiency. And I appreciate that I can sit at this board table with people who are willing to try to learn and do better like every day. So that's all. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you very much.
Director Lau Lancaster.
All right, we're going to move on to item number 503, Marion City Council report.
Okay, so wasn't originally on the November 20th, but when I saw my name, I went ahead and looked. So the November 20th the City Council authorized payment to Linn-Mar, yay for us, for the Towby Park Wilkins Elementary Playground payment. So if you haven't already received the check, we should be getting a payment for $183,294.39. So yay us. That was really the only thing in the November 20th meeting for Linn-Mar specific, and December 4th, there were no Linn-Mar items on the agenda.
Thank you for your report. Item number 504, Career and Technical Education Advisory Report.
It was a good night. It was a good collaborative meeting. It was my first time to be able to attend that group. Our meeting on the 3rd of December was a little more on the planning side and an information side. We had some good updates on the funding and the Perkins grant and where that money was going to be spent in career technical ed. And we had some good discussions about the different program needs and some future planning. I think there was also a lot of good discussion between board members and community members and staff around the needs of these programs and some of the things that can be done to allow the community to be aware of what those needs are, such that they can get help, such that if there are partnerships to be made, that people are made aware of those. Had some good presentation, like I said, on the Perkins grant funding and how that went to each department. And I don't know if Justin or if Midhat, either one of you wants to.
That was a good recap. Thanks, Evan.
I was on the CTE committee last year also, and this meeting by far was the most collaborative meeting between community, board members, and the staff. I just wanted to give Chad a shout out for running his first committee meeting. So it went really well.
Thank you. Evan,
I'll also just add one other thing I just forgot to say. We will be reconvening in February for a much deeper discussion on exactly what needs to be done to meet some of those federal requirements. So.
Thank you, and welcome, Evan, to your first meeting as a new board member. So second meeting. Well, you're just diving right in, aren't you? All right, thank you very much. We're at item number 505, our Finance Audit Committee report.
Yeah, we had a really good meeting, and Midhut got to jump in on our first one, so that was fun. Her first meeting, we met with our auditors, which I always enjoy. We have a great relationship with our auditor, and they'll be coming to a January meeting to give the board a full report on our audit, but quick preview, we have another clean audit, so that's always nice to hear. So John and his team, kudos again for doing all of the right things in all of the right ways and following all the rules. So. And then we'll also be calling for an exempt session in January to begin talking about collective bargaining. Barry and Midhut, anything else you want to add?
No, just real quick, touching on the PEPL note timeline, and that's going to be going into the future, more so into March, and Matt Gillespie will be here on that as well, and that's all part of the financing for all of this too, so that's it.
Any other comments? Thank you very much for your report and for your due diligence and homework that you do for that meeting. We're moving on to item number 506, our superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Lau Lancaster. Just a few district honors and highlights that we provided in the exhibit tonight. The Iowa Pathfinders Honor. Earlier this fall, we recognized our Math Star students. But from that group, congratulations to Caleb from Novak and Ram from Echo Hill, who were two of the district's 14 national Math Star nominees. They were also nominated then for the Iowa Pathfinder Stars for scoring in the top 2% statewide on the Iowa assessments as well. As far as community outreach, we've been highlighting a couple of groups recently. Kudos to the staff and students at Linn-Mar High School, Hazel Point, and Boulder Peak for their community outreach efforts. Linn-Mar High School Allo has partnered with Families Helping Families and Mission of Hope. The National Honor Society has helped with blood drives and volunteered with feeding lunches to youth or fly. And the Environmental Club U Renew has participated in campus cleanups, helped establish a prairie on the campus, and distribute nearly 650 trees this fall to be planted through the community. Hazel Point's partnered with Waypoint, and Boulder Peak partnered with the Willis Dady Homeless Shelter. And then I've got a few fine arts honors, choir, orchestra, and band. Congratulations to 44 Linn-Mar 5th through 9th grade students who were chosen to perform in this year's Iowa Opus Honor Choir. Congratulations to 11 Linn-Mar High School students who were selected to perform in the 2025 Iowa Junior All-State Orchestra. And congratulations to 37 Linn-Mar Middle School and High School students who were selected to perform at the Northeast Iowa Bandmasters Association Honor Band Festival. Some other things to offer tonight is in November, we shared a couple of different staff newsletters as far as communication and a family newsletter right before our break there. We've got an insert that we like to call, or we call the Pride and Pack, that is out in the community in the November Marion Messenger. So we're super appreciative to partner with the city on that. Renee does a nice job of working with myself and the superintendent at Marion to put that together. So that's been a joint effort. We've done it a couple of times now in the last year. And it's nice because it is the one kind of publication that we can get out into the entire community beyond what we're able to do kind of locally and internally with our staff and families. As far as my event participation, in November, we had the Wilkins Playground ribbon cutting ceremony. Director Morey was talking about our check that we're soon going to be received, but that was a joint venture between us and the city. Along with that project, it was also a joint venture that we had a ribbon cutting ceremony together. Attended a Medco board meeting, Mount Mercy President's Advisory Council meeting, and then you've heard the multiple meetings that we're involved in with the Indoor Activities Center. Just a few other things. With the board, we have Finance Audit Committee. I've spent some time talking with Tammy Drabaugh from the Iowa Association of School Boards, and then attending the BoardCon with all of you. As far as our facilities projects, you had a really nice overview of the high school Indoor Activities Center and associated renovation, so I won't get into that too much. But as far as the performance venue, the first round of punch list items were completed by OPN. Paint touch-ups are happening throughout. We're finishing up electrical, installing and testing the AV equipment. Large TVs have been installed. They're installing acoustic panels in the lobby bench areas, hanging curtains on the stage, and other areas of the venue as well, and then cleaning is ongoing. So thanks to all of you that were able to make it in there at 4 o'clock today to get a sneak peek of how that's looking. It's been fun to see the chairs there, and I know that Vicki shared with me from OPN that as part of that punch list item, they had to sit in all 1,200 seats, so that's pretty fun. Anyway, that project is coming along, and we're just getting super excited to be able to get in it and start using it soon, fingers crossed. With that, I have a few dates, and then I'd take any questions. So we have early dismissal coming up a week from Friday. Then we're on winter break. When we get back, we'll be gearing up for the end of the second quarter on January 9th. And then we've got a couple of professional learning opportunities on the 12th and 19th. And we'll be holding an all-star staff gathering in the new performance venue at 8 o'clock on the 19th.
Thank you for your report. Are there any questions? No, but thank you very much. And we all have it on our calendar, January 19th. We'll be a part of just welcoming the staff into that new space. All right. At this time, we'll move on to items number 600. This is unfinished business. Item number 601, acceptance of substantial completion. Do I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the substantial completion of Linn-Mar High School and Indian Creek Elementary roof replacement project and issue final payment to Dry Space Incorporated for a total of $24,703.85.
Second.
Second, I have a motion by Barry, a second by Britt. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion has carried. Item number 701, approval to set public hearing. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to set a public hearing regarding the updated 2026-27 school year calendar and the proposed 27-28 school year calendar for Monday, January 12th, 2006 at 5 p.m. in the boardroom of Educational Leadership Center.
Is there a second, please?
Seconded.
We have a motion by Midat and a second by Evan. Is there any discussion? Without any discussion, we will move to a vote. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion has carried. At this time, I have item number, and y'all just jump on this one. Here we go. Item number 702, approval of fundraising requests. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the fundraising requests as presented in Exhibit 702.1.
Second.
We have a motion by Laura and a second by Midhat. Any discussion? Without any discussion, we will go to vote. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion has carried. Item number 703, approval of SBRC application open enrollment. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the School Budget Review Committee application for a modified supplemental amount of $1,629,379 for open enrolled out students not on the prior year headcount.
I have a motion. Is there a second, please?
Second.
We have a motion by Britt, a second by Laura. Is there any discussion? Without any discussion, we will continue on with our vote. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Item number 704, approval of SBRC application LEP. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the School Budget Review Committee application for a modified supplemental amount of $39,780 for limited English proficient instruction for English language learner students served beyond 5 years.
Second.
I have a motion by Laura, a second by Britt. Is there any discussion? Without any discussion, may I have a vote, please? All in favor?
Yes?
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion has carried. At this time, item number 705, recommendation of Cedar Rapids Examining Board Representative. May I have a motion, please?
Can we get some clarification?
Yes, that'll be a wonderful explanation. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will jump in here. So as we were sharing names, if you remember during the organizational meeting, you all both nominated Evan for both the examining board and Linn County Conference Board. And when we shared Evan's name back, they made the remark to us that the same individual cannot serve on those boards. And so we need a new nominee. Evan can, of course, serve as the Linn County Conference Board member. When we receive this name tonight or your motion, it doesn't also mean it's a slam dunk. That will go to that board and then they will make this recommendation. So we're just offering a name right now.
Can I ask a clarifying question? How come Barry has been able to do it the whole time and now, like, do they just really like Barry?
The reason, no, you're right on track. You're right.
Literally grandfathered Barry in.
Actually, what happened was a few years ago, they asked if I would serve a 6-year term on this, and I agreed to do that. So basically, that committee nominated me and voted to have me on that. So if that could be reversed, but they would bring it back to that committee to ask if they wanted to make a change, and the city auditor asked if I would be willing to serve, and I said I'd be very happy to stay on it until my term expired. So
Then
if that makes sense. So.
I was just going to say I would motion to recommend Barry since he had done it in the past and we kind of just thought Evan was going to do both. But I would motion to recommend Barry to serve as the district's representative on the Cedar Rapids Examining Board for fiscal year 2025-26 or until the term ends.
Second.
We have a motion by Britt and a second by Midhat. Is there any discussion at this time?
Can we just, I appreciate that, Britt. Can we just get clarification just for the record on the motion? Is it until his term ends or the end of the 25-26?
I guess my motion was kind of following what Barry stated was it was a 6-year term. So if he could just fill out the term that they have for him until he's no longer on the board.
I think, no, you're asking a very good question, because I think what will happen too, for Evan's information moving forward, the meetings are held one right after the other. So Evan's going to be there anyway for his meeting, and I'm also going to be there, and then we'll have some discussions at that time moving forward on how it's going to be handled, because I don't exactly remember when the term expires, but I do remember, basically you can't just appoint somebody. They would have to go through their process in the meeting as well. So I'm happy to serve for this year, and for some reason I think it's actually for 2 more years, but for our information on our board for an annual thing, that's all we're doing is clarifying that Evan was on there and now putting me on there for another year. And then what happens after that, we'll deal with when that time
Yes,
comes.
So is Barry your preference for us to stick with 1 year and then redo your term, or to keep
Well,
the term?
That would fulfill, our practice has been 1 year at a
Yeah.
time. So
Okay.
although it's a 6-year term, that is their practice.
Correct.
Our practice would be to continue as 1 year. Barry, we are very thankful for your continued commitment to this and your energy to this. You have been nominated, and there is a motion on the floor right now by Britt and second by Midhat. Was there any further discussion? If not, we can move towards.
We might
Well,
have
in response to Justin's question, I'll clarify my motion to be for the 25-26 year and not for the full term, since that is the request of Barry.
and I second it again, the amended motion.
Can I just add, and I guess maybe this is for Evan and Barry, you might have said that they changed this, but if there was and you probably told us they asked you to serve for a 6-year term, and I'm just probably not remembering it right now, but I'm just trying.
I have reason to believe it's probably before you're on the board even. That's what makes me think it's winding down, so.
Got it.
Because I'd forgotten about it too, to tell you the truth. But the pay is good.
To clarify, there is no pay. Just, I guess, Director Langston or Director Buckholz, if there is a term discussed at those meetings, like if they were to, like, I think it would be appropriate then to bring that back to the board so that way we're aware of it and we can adjust our procedures accordingly. That's all.
If there's no further discussion, let's go ahead, and all in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? The motion is carried. Item number 706, this is an approval of acceptance of a gift. May I please have a motion?
Motion to approve the acceptance of a $1,500 donated by the City of Marion per Policy 802.7 Gifts, Grants, and Bequests in support of the Linn-Mar Food Pantry.
Second.
We have a motion by Laura, a second by Britt. Is there any discussion?
I just want to thank Director Thomas. Sometimes we get phone calls and it's really easy to pass it along to the proper channels because there's time to do that. And this request came in with like a 2.5-hour window to get stats to City Council so that they could know what we needed and what we serve. And Laura got that phone call because she happened to be the person in that City Councilman's phone. And this all came together because she was able to pull a bunch of stuff together. And thank you to the staff at all of our buildings who helped her do that day. It was a great team effort.
Thank you. And I really think I just connected the right folks with the right folks between the two, and I was very happy to facilitate that conversation. So I always talk about how I want more collaboration between the districts, between the community, between the city, and I'm just thrilled that we can make this happen. So thank you.
So we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? And the motion is carried. Thank you very much for that. And well, thank you to the City of Marion for their partnership with Linn-Mar. At this time, we are moving on to item number 800, our consent agenda. I need a motion, please.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Midhat and a second by Barry. Is there any discussion?
We have a retirement.
Congratulations to Ed Herkett on his retirement.
Thank you very much. We thank him for his time, and Ed, thank you very much, and we wish you well in your next endeavor. Is there any other further discussion?
I just have one, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just have one comment, question. I asked John about it, but I do want to clarify it to the whole group. Rachi Construction had a change order for the Indian Creek ADA improvements, and I personally like to keep an eye on those because as a rule, you'd like to stick to their bid, but this particular case is when they pulled the concrete, quote, asphalt up, there were a lot of issues under there, so I think it was $10,000 and some dollars roughly. Does that sound right? Anyway, and he said they had to do more work, they had to bring in more dirt, et cetera, peel out the old so that the new concrete would stay level. So I just wanted to say I think these are important things to look at because the construction they bid jobs, they get a job in a bid, we want to make sure that they're sticking to their bid, and this one here was out of their hands. So
I appreciate that clarification, Barry, because I mean, I think it is important to note we do try and stick with the bids, but we also have to give some accommodation to, we don't know what's under concrete, especially concrete as old as what they're pulling up. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right, keeping track of what is changing and are the change orders within budget, but also understanding that sometimes you bid on something and when you tear it apart, you don't know what you're going to find.
I also appreciate you bringing that up, and I'd like a follow-up question, if I may. Did it set back the timeline for this project?
No.
No? Okay, thanks.
I'll just add real quick on the number 2, the Terracon. I know that our policy states that for bids over 25,000, we need to get multiple bids, I believe, right?
Yeah, so this is a professional service, so it is exempt from that.
Perfect. But with that, I think the bid's like 16 or something? Somewhere in there?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Judging from other past practices, that's really a good price. So I felt really comfortable.
Yeah, and on that one specifically, Justin, Terracon had a lot of history from around the high school from previous projects. So that helped out on their price as well, using borings that they had in the past. And those borings don't change over time. The soil is what it is, especially a lot of them were from the performance venue.
Yep, no, that's a good deal.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? The consent agenda has been approved. We're now moving on to item number 900, our board calendar and communications. I'd like to highlight the following upcoming board visits to get your calendars out. December 10th, the Linn-Mar School Counselors Advisory. That is Wednesday. Thank you. Evan is stepping in as a substitute, and we are grateful for that. December 11th, board visit to Indian Creek Elementary. That is at 11:30. Thank you very much. December 12th, legislator visit to Hazel Point Intermediate. You need us here by
9 o'clock, Hazel Point.
9 o'clock. And then we have December 18th, Marion City Council. We already have Laura attending. January 8th, Marion City Council. I need to request a volunteer, please. Thank you, Britt. I heard that. Under your breath, she said I could. And
I couldn't
said
get my
yes.
microphone to turn on. I can do the 8th.
I heard yes, so I gotcha. And then January 12th, Board of Directors meeting. And then remember, we will also have a work session. No,
We have no, nothing.
nothing.
26.
Board meeting
Yeah.
and exempt session.
Thank you. January 26th, IASB Day on the Hill. Reminder that it is the same day as one of our board meetings. So we will discuss transportation and whether or not everybody is able to get there and back. So we will continue on with that meeting in the evening. Are there any additional communications from the board? If not, I want, with great celebration, to start looking forward to that meeting that we're all going to have at the performance venue and for the whole entire district, so get that on your calendar. I have no further discussion. Anyone?
I move to adjourn at 6:13
Yeah,
PM.
Barry got in on that one. Barry, is there a second?
Second.
And Laura got the second. Any further discussion on our adjournment? If not, all those in favor say yes?
Yes. Yes.
Any opposed? No. We are now going to take a quick 8 to 10 minute